we have a good result with this program. We are hoping we can create a second program, a most bigger program, and make a consolidation of what's going on in Panama, what has happened, and tell to citizens what give them these informations. Just like I said in the start of the presentation, our focus is to focus on the intelligence and information of Panama development tools to all the sectors of the government, of Panama government, make this public, and say how this impact the citizens, has more 400 things to do, and they can do this from your home, their home. Almost the total of municipalities from Panama. Panama is a country. It's a little country, just with 4 million of inhabitants, but really centralized there in reality. Arrived to has arrived in more little regions, little cities of Panama. And in central of Panama, we have the center of development. So for us, it's really important to make this faster. And to the cities came from the faraway cities, from the center of Panama, and be connected. Panama Digital is a really good program to make this connection, and the citizens can access the services. We have almost 3 million of people registered, and it was important to make the registration, monitoring, what is happening. The system change what was made here was really efficient when it was watching the cases, make evaluation, and all systems of certifications. We have a work with Europa, Europe, European Union, and it was really efficient. We have a work also to make a cyber security strategy in Panama, make stronger the team of nuclear response. During the pandemic, we create programs to can use the trends to this moment about suicide, about vacuum. Well, I would like to say Panama is uh, a tool. The ID can be used just like a credit card. If the citizen has the ID, the vulnerable citizens they can use their iPhones, their smartphones. You go to drug stores to receive the subsidies, and so the ID became a credit card to make the transitions. That was a really big step for the technology of Panama. So we make it, they give the credit in these platforms was a really important sector for the channel of Panama. So it's that platform on make the integrations between the integration the companies. They can make the times the homes and don't need to talk about distinct entities. Don't just communication and they can make these trends themselves. Logistics also. I can talk fast. It's a program. We gotta keep it going with this program. And he started in 2002, but we keep going with this program and it's going. We are making a lot of innovation, a lot of results. The next one is a project we are starting because has the focus in the private sectors. Belize is the most little country in this region. Has 4,000 4,000 inhabitants. So we have talked a lot of Belize these last years to change the digital government of these countries. A strategy of data, a data strategy, information strategy. This project is different than the last one because the last one was working the public and this one work with the privacy with the private companies. Almost 99% of the companies don't give attention for this. The problem was the interaction with the states and the others. A lot of options to our business. So we are working basically with these topics to make the enterprise can use more technologies, explore more programs based in the technologies by the government. The most important thing it's if they do this, we can make the work more simplified, and the other is union state, the most important sectors in Belize, and this the people are looking for job and don't have any online or self identification. Anglo-Saxonic don't have a unique identifications. The security, social security ID gonna help with this situation, and this must be go to make the a place to make certifications in general to search for a job and applying to the companies, and that ID gonna help with this. So also we are working on social readjustment so that both parts can be work together and find job and be apply be able to work. This is the kind of projects we have. We have a lot of projects. All of this has his their own focus and cybersecurity. Just focusing make the strategy about the security public security and working of the civil society of the schools and support of formation programs and make more professionals the workers. The sector has a lot of demand. It's growing up in America Latina. In Latin America, it's not making enough of information of technology, and that's why he require a lot of programs and about comparisons. We have this initiative called Malpa Inversiones. It's a platform and they use to visualize the public of the countries at the level cities levels and with the resources the states using. We have been in three countries of South America and three of the Caribbean. Have been in Panama for 2 months. We are in Argentina, Costa Rica, Paraguay, República Dominicana. The platform to make the adaptation to each country made with the public regional public, and each country give they use is more better. So for this platform, you can see and show the information to the public They use a model just like the last years. The destination was the public resources to to be able to the people of Panama can see what is happening, what the government was doing. So that's the role of this platform. I don't know if I can, but I would like to present a video. Jorge, I can present the video. Has 3 minutes. I present. I share. Sorry. Don't worry. She's really kind. This is my inversiones. You don't get paid. There are donations we make with the government to work of these distinct sectors about the knowledge. We have a guide of transformation, a digital government transformation of the government. And we use this to the government can talk about what's going on about the digital, what was the changes, or how is about the digital evolutions in these countries. It's a really a really beauty tool. This really full of information. Talent dynamics about governance topics about service, so digital services. We can publish it this year, and we're gonna make this public because we want to share the information. So, like I said, we have a lot all of our studies, of our articles, just like how work the digital action in the countries and the states. The last one was in 2020, and we make evaluation of the all countries of Latin America and the countries of UOEA and how is going on these countries in the ranking. Have a study of digital transformation of the public, and then this where we are looking what has a lot of preoccupation. What's going on about our job? What's going on about my job? I gonna replace it by IA, and we have space to working together in these systems. We talk a lot about cybersecurity, and we understood that programs are really important to talk about this and teach the people about cybersecurity and give permission. Our work is to have this capacitation in these countries. It is document el fin de trámite, this interaction. This advance can be more simple, more easy, can be better, more in the future. In the capacitation, we have Academy Invite. Here you can find all of information, all the bank sectors. We have working in 4 courses. Work gonna be able for all of us can want to see the information. We have been working the talent projects. And see to the regulation of the regions. I believe the bank is focusing this in general. The opportunities of give critical lines to make developments. The topics is really big because the bank has a lot of topics, a lot of points talking about. We try to offer just innovator projects of innovations with countries are needed of these developments and that impact. So we work with Israel, Spain, USA, Canada, and we try to learn with them And with these learnings, we can teach other countries to use these models. Other thing is of capitalization. We really a lot of tools to use. And is this I finish? I'm ready for the questions. I think so much, Jorge. Thank you. Thanks so much. We'll talk about the role of the Inter-American Bank of Development. I try to the target as the business and to try to make the better development of the digital market. I would like have
or other countries or not, and they can go to their chapters and talk to them or become members of the chapters in order to request these funds. But I don't recall exactly which ones have to go through chapters or others that not necessarily.
So to answer your question, Olga, the Beyond the Net program is specifically for chapters. So if someone has an idea that they think would be something they could do with the chapter and partner with them or become part of the team that applies for funding, they would apply through Beyond the Net. However, I do want to say that there are multiple chapters who have also applied for grants through the other programs and have received those. So it's not just that it's the Beyond the Net program. There may be something else that they want to partner with the chapter on. If the chapter is able to meet eligibility, then they can apply through the other programs. So, for example, you need to be a 501c3 or equivalent in order to apply for programs other than Beyond the Net and a few others that we have, and I'll tell you those in a second. If you're not, if the chapter is not a 501c3 or equivalent, then it has to be a chapter that applies through one of the other programs. So Beyond the Net is one, large and small. And then we also, which I know I had all the programs up there at once, but we also have programs that chapters apply for sustainable technical communities, for community networks, and also for sustainable peering infrastructure. So if you go on our website, you can read about these different programs, which I didn't want to take the time to go through every one. But I think it will be very helpful, and you can see that there are those that can be partnered. You can partner with a chapter and apply that way.
Thank you, Sarah. Jorge, we unfortunately we're running out of time. I would appreciate if Maria Inés and Sarah can share with us the presentation so we can share them with the fellows. And for Maria Inés, just maybe she can include her in her presentation. There is a $30 million bid grant for Argentina for cybersecurity, which is very important. It will happen in the near future, but it has been very, very good news for Argentina as well. So un aplauso para nuestras panelistas y para Jorge. Thank you all very much. Gracias, querido Jorge. Gracias, Maria Inés. Thank you, Sarah. Hope to see you somewhere. And thank you. Gracias. Muchas gracias.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Sarah. Bye, bye.
Nice to meet you too. Bye.
Ciao, Jorge, querido. Ciao. So I give the floor to my dear friend Cláudio.
Energia a todos. Vou mudar de novo para o português. Sim. Mas eu acho que esse painel era indispensável, né, Olga? Porque é exatamente onde alguns de vocês começam a ver aqui algumas das possibilidades daquilo que muitos de vocês vieram nos perguntar ao longo do dia, né? Como é que a gente operacionaliza isso com recursos? E isso, de novo, foi mostrado aqui para vocês algum.
And now we had some possibilities, but we have so other many. So that's very important that you guys were able to solve this. Now we're going to expand a little bit more the discussion about AI, and now we're going to talk about sensors, for further step in the triad of the main elements that we have for IoT. Now we're going to reset the board for questions. We're going to use it. Now I'm going to call coming on stage Ali Elias Abdallah. Is he here? Is he here from Microsoft? Hi Elias, good afternoon, how are you? I really wanted to be with you guys, but my busy schedule didn't allow me to. Oh, thank you so much, Elias. I'm gonna call Luis Miranda. And I would also like to call Clara Langevan, lead, which is a head of artificial intelligence of machine learning here in Brazil. You may sit down, Luis. Please, suit yourself. Welcome, Clara. Today, the conversation might be around IoT and Internet of Things. It's a very complicated expression. It's very commercially sexy, and it's kind of easy to understand, and also very descriptive. But it would be better if we call it Internet of Connected Devices. Now we have sensors being part of our day-to-day activities. Probably we're gonna have 25 billion things connected, and now we're controlling these expectations. And one of the most recent components of this debate is how can we automate these things. I prefer I'm like a Don Quixote of terminology, so I'm going to use the automation, connected devices, and also sustainability. When we take a look specifically into the Northeast, our perception of sustainability is particularly interesting and important. So I'd like to begin with Luis, which is here with us in Campina Grande. And he's also connected to a public institution. Like I said, Campina Grande, it's kind of like a main center for technology. And some of you complain to me a lot about complain about how I didn't show you the other side of the building. But we can go there. Another institution that's very important here in Campina Grande is the National Institute of Semi-Arid. Luis is part of this institute, and he also has a very interesting experience that he can focus on Internet of Things for one specific economic aspect, and is mainly focused on electrical energy. Excuse me, how much time do I have? Okay, maybe we have 10 minutes for each one of you, and you can send the board. So I'm going to try to use less. Good afternoon, guys. I work at National Institute of the Married, and I am working in the UNBU, in which our objective is to develop corporate corporate goals. When we talk about electrical engineer, we're also talking about information technology and how can we develop the future and also to do this transition of energy. So what can we consider that's important for energy for us to be here? If we consider the blackout that we had the past month, how can we use our networks and our critical infrastructure, and how can we develop it in a more digital way? We've been talking about the three dimensions: the decarbonization, the digitalization, and the decentralization. That are all connected. So if we use more digital devices, we can have a better use of the energy. And this goes through the project about the cyberspace. I did a quick study about how can we reflect on the numbers if we talk about intelligent measures in the other concepts. We're talking about 21 billion devices that might triplicate until 2030. This is the scenario that we live today. When we talk about this, we also have the issue of cyber attacks, which we're not prepared to. In 2020, the fifth bigger collapse are basically the critical infrastructure in which, especially here in Brazil, in which we have a very interconnected infrastructure. We haven't invested in infrastructure here yet. So we're considered under risks in cyber attacks. If we take a look into Brazil and the other countries, we had a big cyber attack in a biofuel company in the United States, and that led to the paralyzation of 40% of all of the transportation of fuel. So can you imagine, United States, they have cutting edge technology, and they received a cyber attack by Russian hackers that basically stopped the production in 40%. And they still have this problem. When we talk about the regulations, let's talk about the laws. There are a lot of law and frameworks that were decided in 2020. In 2021, we had a policy which was implemented by ANAEL in cybersecurity. So can you imagine that we had within the structure in one of the biggest economies, we had the implemented policies that just started being implemented in 2022. So this is all very new and very recent. Now talking about investments, how can we take a look into the future? ANAEL has a 5-year planning on how to develop the technologies. So we're taking a look here in 2023 until 2028. ANAEL it's also defined the 7 main strategic topics. And I'm going to talk about 3 of these 7, which are the cybersecurity, the new technologies, which includes AI and virtual reality, that requires a lot of resources. And now we have to take a look into that regarding the future. There's this huge difficulty in Brazil of the openness of the market. And now we're talking about the data based on the idea of the open energy. The data that we're going to use is going to be available to the users. We're going to have the power over this information. And we have a big generation of devices that we still don't know how they're going to act because we don't have any specific law for this. And with this open in the market, we're going to see new technologies being embarked within our devices, within our applications. They're going to be focused on this control and development. But how about the other side? Are we ready for this? Are we prepared for this? Because the internet have advanced. Our mobiles have advanced. So the internet is very advanced, but the energy is still not following it. So our data need to be within the new platforms. That's what we're trying to achieve. So just to finish this, what can we see as big opportunities in one sector? It's such a big sector. And talking about what we've developed in Umbu, we had basically 4 challenges. We have motion sensors and alarms. Not only if we had a transmission network, we have the smart alarm that in 15 seconds we are able to inform about blackouts, so the operator can protect that cybersecurity system based on the sensors. We still have a long way to develop new technologies. When we have a sector that has, on one hand, is very technological, but in the other is still needs to improve. Luis has just arrived here in Campina Grande. He's already considered a son of Campina Grande, and he's very engaged within this project. Here in the northeast region of Brazil, particularly the semi-arid, which are very common throughout Latin America, they had discovered and they've been investing in clean energy, basically sun and wind. And now we're exploring it. We begin to explore these issues, which is also a concern that involves the institute, right? Yes, because Brazil kind of exports the energy. Northeast, aside from the renewable potential energy, we also have the offshore energy, the possibility of the offshore energy. So we're going to be exporting a lot of energy. So we are basically focusing on generation for the last 2 months. I still can't talk about it because I'm gonna spoil it. But they reach out to us to make a study and to look for renewable energies. we had the expectation of a big investment, especially in this region, and this is going to attract jobs, employment, and we're trying to form a partnership focusing on Northeast, specifically in Paraíba, specifically in Campina Grande. And we're trying to make this city the vector of qualification of work, and mainly because the electric sector requires a lot of regulamentations and other objectiveness. We have other environments that, and we know that Federal University have these challenges, and we know that the Federal University is going to be a reference for us to develop these kinds of projects. I'm going to invite you guys to get to know the website of INSA. I'm going to thank Clara for being here. I think there are two things that we can talk about. We have the C4AI, it's very well known, so I would like to ask you to talk about it. So whenever I talk to Clara, there's always news. And I would like for her to talk about this project. And she's going to even talk about, she's going to talk about a theme that is very deeply related to sustainability. So Clara, please dazzle us. Thank you so much for being here, hearing us talk about sensors and sustainability. I'm part of an initiative of the federal government here in São Paulo. So we are connected also to Eletrobras, so we're all colleagues here. I'm from Washington. I'm from United States. I know that I might commit a few mistakes in Portuguese, but I'm trying to improve. Our center is focused on creating systems of governance in political policies for emergent technologies, and also to take a look into the ethical usage. Our center is a do tank, so instead of just thinking about solutions and publishing them, we had to test these solutions in real environments, either with prototypes or pilots, projects, or even sandboxes. Claudio has mentioned other projects, and I've saw many discussions about ethical usage of artificial intelligence. So, in case if you're interested in how to understand how the government can help with the regulations for this ethical usage, but now I'm going to focus on we're trying to focus on digitalization of the agricultural processes. So what's the advantage for these small producer to adopt this kind of digitalization? But this is very important for our sustainability. With the European Union getting across with so many new regulations, all of the producers, even small producers, they have to adopt these tracking technologies to be in order to be able to join the market. So what are the bottlenecks on the technologies, on the usage of technologies in rural areas? We have lots of different programs, but unfortunately, this information doesn't arrive, doesn't reach these small producers unless it's through cooperatives. So we're trying to improve the current systems and also provide technical assistance. We know that there are many organizations that work with this, just like Sebrae, which is one of our organizers of this event. We know that there are lots of organizations that take care of this. So what do these organizations can do to capacitate these small producers to make them start using this tracking? um, so now we're trying to find out what is the level of digitalization that these small producers have. So what can they use, like IoT, the use of sensors, to provide this information in real time, which is going to be more and more important in these processes of tracking, especially when we talk about avoiding, when we talk about green economy. So this is going to be very important. How can we help this market? We have a lot of different technologies circulating in the market, but most of these technologies don't focus on the small producers. So we need to connect these small producers to big companies that can provide these technologies for them, so they can use these technologies to manage their farms and manage their production. So I've been taking a look. Uh, we've been looking at other projects that connect technologies with the agro production here. So lastly, we're going to take a look into the data usage in agriculture. I know that you guys have been talking about personal data, but this is also important for agriculture, because because even though this data is not personal, this can be specifically important for the small producer. So we're trying to look for the greater good. We want to make this important and helpful for the producer, for the small producers. So the certification process could open the access and give credit incentives for these small producers to get this technology. So currently, we're trying to find a list to submit to the National Confederation of Agriculture. We're working on this list. We're going to create this list of recommendations to include this digital inclusion. So I hope to show this project happening to you guys. Thank you so much. I think that there's a phone. There's a phone here. Because we have new leaders that have contributed for a sustainable agriculture. So we've been having more and more people like this. I still didn't have the pleasure to meet these two leaders, but these are people who can actually help your project. So let's try to make that connection. And now we're going to move on to another concept.
Where these three elements are connected or always presented like as all the good projects. Good afternoon. It was already your interest since the. Unfortunately, you're not here, but we are happy that you're here for the discussion. Good afternoon, Claudio. Good afternoon, everyone that is participating. I would like to start asking sorry for not being able to be there with you guys. I'm very sad of not being able to be there with you. When we discussed about the support, we were very happy because this was an opportunity that was very interesting, and it was a big pleasure to be able to divide this moment with you, Clara and Luis. Clara, your Portuguese is very good. So would it be impossible to say that you are not a Portuguese speaker? We can be here talking all the day and we will not use not even 1%, 10% of everything that we could debate. So this is a theme that we need to be always debating, participating in this meeting that we are having here. This exchange of ideas, this needs to continue to be happening. So we have this encounter happening in Campina Grande, which is a little bit about opportunity. So this vision of opportunity, it's really particular of me. It is something that I believe, but I'm sure that the Microsoft company and even our vision of technology, we are in this moment that artificial intelligence makes part of our daily lives. Not only about the new functions, but if you open a site of news, we'll see that is something talking about artificial intelligences is a theme that came. That's a hot topic these days again. It's a theme that has been spoken since the decade of 50. We have something that is most recent and fast. We are used to say that we are in this inflection moment in terms of the use of technology and what it can bring to us, and we have to use it in a responsible way. It means that put it in another way and look to Brazil, look into our region here in Latin America, is that I believe that we have the opportunity to look to these new technologies and to think of how we can have this leader role related to enjoy this technology to bring the sustainable development to Brazil for our region. And to put in two fronts, in the sustainable, ambient sustainable, but also sustainable in the sense that we can think in the whole and in the ambient. respecting the environment. Maybe it's a characteristic of us to approach these aspects looking to the risks, and it's essential of our conversation. So talking about responsible technology will be connected to, as you said, with the using of the cloud, but we also have to talk about the dangers of this usage. But if you have to the best of this development happening, we also need to talk about the opportunities. And in a country like ours, like Brazil, and countries like we have in Latin America, I think that we have to have this vision related. How can I put this technology in favor of our countries, of our communities? And I return to this point of Campina Grande, Paraíba, because this is not only restricted to some centers. We also have to look to the whole, because this opportunity is there in a general way. I think that Brazil, for instance, has an intentionality to go after of what we can do. I think that it brings maybe an opportunity that is very broadened. But let me put it in another way, maybe even directly. When we see to the artificial intelligence, we are talking about a base to build a solution. Normally, the discussion is restricted to this base. So, for example, the Microsoft is a provider of service of artificial intelligence, and it puts the services in products that, for example, Microsoft 360, Office, Word, Outlook, and so on. You could make the usage of it, but we're talking basically about it, a technology that we can build new things. This part that we talk about, build new things with it, this great service that's so actual like any other place in the world, to think what we can develop for a practical application, for example, in our country, or a practical application, as Clara was saying, in the family agriculture, or a practical application in relation to the environment, or in the energetic sector. Here there is a aggregated value very large. So thinking in the opportunities like countries like Brazil, we have a chance, very interested to think how we can have this, that we have a leadership to see how to solve these problems in society. When I say this, I'm not putting away the challenges and the risks that we have to think, but the fact is, if we don't put it in perspective, the opportunities that we have, eventually we can end only with the risks. I really believe that Brazil and the other countries here in Latin America have this chance to leadership if we put in practice the usage of the technology. We have natural resources when we think in environment that may make another countries envious of us. And in the digital, there's another point that I think that is interesting to say. We already have a leadership if we look at it, but maybe we do not acknowledge this. And when we have the opportunity to talk about this new technology, maybe we are so shy to think how to put it in practice. It's like something natural if you see in having the example with Brazil, to let this in a concrete way. And I think that's an example that works for in other regions as well. Although this is something that we see like a joke, is an example of creativity. Then uses the usage of technical tools. And if we think a little bit of how we can explore this in a positive sense, in a sense of generate opportunities to work with all these creativities. Maybe we could think of a new front. If you see the financial aspects, the financial sector in Brazil, we already have a lot of solutions here. There are good solutions, maybe that can be compared in digital, that can be compared with countries like USA. And while here we have this instantaneous paid, that is example in so many digital solutions and digital banks, and it's creating our own dynamic. You will have another countries that still uses check and other resources that are not digital. So we have, in a certain way, a leadership that already exists. And maybe it's good that we have to think that we have so opportunities to look to new technologies and the pragmatism that how we can put this in favor of our country, and maybe that the resistance sometimes, a lot of times, maybe signifies that we may lost this moment and be laid in practical solutions. Now talking about very quickly of our vision in the Microsoft team, we are working something that we call created responsible approaches to develop technology, and we want that technology may be used in a responsible way. And it comes from ethical principles. And we see these principles in patterns, tools, and in a whole ecosystem so that it can work. It's not something that is new, it's not a new debate. This debate comes from a few years already. We also want to be a leader in the governance of this technology. We really take this very serious. This is our work for the development of the continuous technology. It doesn't end right now. And we need to make this in a collaborative way, including understand how the technology works is the best way to understand its risks. So when we look to technology in a responsible way, we are talking about sustainability. Observing these responsibilities and having a more responsible circle. Let's expand this in relation to put technology to think in solutions in the sustainability areas and what we can do so we think in the environment in an integrated way. First relating to the sustainability of technology itself, the Microsoft has a partnership and invested real relevant in the ionic energy. Understand what Claudio said. This reach of the region in a sustainable energy, because this energy also feeds and try to sustain all this technology energy. For example, in partnership with the Amazon, we try to develop the Previs, which is a tool that tries to understand the risks and the potential dangers of the Amazon and to think of policies to prevent this. Maybe this is a simple of things that can be think. And then return to the question of opportunities. So if we have our population, if you have in our population creativity, we see maybe we can look to the diversity of our regions in a sense of think in solutions and so on. I think we can put here this leadership not only in the sustainable development, that is something that is very important in the world today, but also to understand that those that can develop the solutions in these areas, not only to apply them, but also to think how to develop, how to connect this to the necessities of our countries and creating more opportunities in for the society in a general way, which is very important. I particularly think that we have to follow this. We have to think in technology as an opportunity to our country. How, like one of so we can discuss sustainability in the point of view, in the economic point of view, in the society point of view. So we have these opportunities in all the sectors, social sectors, economic sectors. Here, Luis and Clara brought one of the examples among the others that I'm sure that there already exist solutions, but there are a lot of things that we have to look for. So I'm finishing here. Thank you, Claudio. Thank you, Elias. Thank you for your participation, for your attention that you have with us. I think that we have to emphasize that the function of Elias is an Latin American function. It has to do with action with the countries in which the colleagues are. We have some questions here in the board. I don't know if Elias can see, but we can tell him. So before we go to the questions, I just wanted to do a register. We did a super cool panel of artificial intelligence, and there was a lot of attention. But when we have attention, we also have controversy. It was a panel with a lot of concerns with the drastic changes. I think that all the risks that were pointed are true, but one of the two researchers that we have here, they complain a lot about these risks being talked without the opportunities that were associated. I don't even disagree with the risks that were put, but it bothered them because the opportunities were not talked about. Isabella and Fernanda is not here anymore, but I particularly think that this panel was a great answer. Luis brought the positive aspects in the artificial intelligence to energy, and Clara for the small producers. And Elias, without matching anything, if we do not take the opportunities, we will only rest the risks. So for me, it's very clear that these positive aspects, maybe it was not very well discussed debate because we have a distinct But I think this positive points it's now very clear. Anyone has any question?
Let's start here. Thank you. Good afternoon. One of the questions here on the board, it's mine. I'm going to explain the context. I'm on a master's on regional development at WebPB, and we're trying to look for alternatives to contribute with the use of internet. And now we've been talking to Embrapa. I went to Embrapa using my dissertation to talk about these programs, just like to talk about the before and the after. And to be honest, I got out of there really disappointed because the researchers there told me that one of the problems is that there's no continuity and there's no instruction for the agricultures to these platforms. So if they think that we would have the continuation in this project, maybe these producers would be willing to apply. So I couldn't find the answer to actually they didn't they weren't able to tell me what would be a problem. I went there with all of this positive idea for the benefit of the agricultures, of the micro entrepreneurs in the use of these platforms. So what would be a way that we can contribute so we can how can we find it? So let's talk about this real quick. I think that this is an incredible question because this is a question that I have myself. And I've been talking with the producers, and I can see that these producers often don't use the technologies, don't use the apps, either for lack of knowledge or lack of money, lack of investment, or maybe the need to have more people specialize in the use of these technologies. So maybe they stop using it and they start to sell the products in an informal market, which is other troubling situation. And now we're following a project regarding meat, and they're trying to find the tracking of the meat from the birth of the cattle, because the tracking of these the only information that we have is for about 120 days before the cutting of the meat in the cattle. But we need to identify nowadays they have earrings that have sensors. So this is one of the projects of Embrapa that we're trying to improve this process in order to make it more obvious for the producer. So they for something that they can use from the birth of the cattle until the last part. Some things that I've seen, especially with cocoa producers, it's the tracking, just like an example that we have a company that uses Cabruca cacao. Usually we have digitalized the information in which they sell the almonds, the cacao almonds, and that result in a more expensive product. So usually when there's incentive, especially if it's not a direct regulation sector, maybe it's going to help the usage of technology. And this has everything to do with with the project. So maybe if we had some kind of funding for this, maybe that would be interesting. I think that the this word kind of scares me a little bit, the regulation aspect of it. But I highly doubt that you would come to Campina Grande to talk about meat 4.0. Good afternoon. I'm Alexander from Mexico, and I would like to ask about the barriers that you found. O agro é muito diverso, é muito complexo, especialmente no setor da inteligência artificial e energias renováveis. How is that a question that Mexico shares? That's what the translator says. What are the good and bad experiences with which we can learn, we from Mexico? I don't speak Portuguese. So you're talking about good practices for public policies. Okay, good things and bad things. It's interesting when we talk about renewable energy. From what I see, if I'm not mistaken, I've read in some book, while the companies are 100 miles per hour, the regulations are slower. So we are creating regulations now for things in the past. So the regulations for institutional policy of cybersecurity, it's very hard. We also have the hub for the exportation of green hydrogen. And when we take a look into the institutions, they are interested in it. So we're trying to develop a technological pole and also looking for the development vis-a-vis the cheaper production of energy. Because things are happening here, the policies are most of the times being discussed here, like the offshore opportunities such as the wind energy, the eolic energy. Not only in the energy aspect, but also when we talk about decarbonization. Maybe Brazil is going to be a protagonist in this process. And probably this is going to happen here in the Northeast. and the federal governments need to adapt to these realities. Because all we have right now are state policies. We have to have a well-structured state policies. In the not so good aspects are the things in that states are not looking at. We've been seeing some issues regarding these renewable energies. How much of these renewable energies are actually sustainable? We are not there yet in these discussions. Thank you, Louise. I'm sure you guys have good practices. But Fernanda has a question. Good afternoon. My name is Fernanda. I'm an AI researcher. I just wanted to comment. I ended up not participating in the conversation with Isabella. So I have a more pessimist position regarding this subject. I would like to rephrase this. And I'm worried about discrimination and risks. And I'd like to ask the question regarding the artificial systems. How can we include the vulnerabilized communities? How can we include them when we are not looking specifically at them? How can we make them participate and participate into this sustainable development? And what are the risks?
Sure, let me think. Actually, I want to make two questions for you, Claudio. The first one is, you already answered this one, but I want to ask again. Do you believe that in Campina Grande can be a hub of technology? I'm aware of this. And do you think if you ask to some people there, do you think that people will have the same conviction? I think that is least clear. I'm asking this, Claudio, and in a certain way, I already expect your answer. And then I can already answer the. When I see to this question of opportunities, I am bring this because this is a little bit of my personal experience. When I look to my past experience to understand opportunities and think that that could be that makes part of my word or not. When we see the questions of diversity and equality, like Brazil, like a community of people, and so I think part of the point that I was putting in opportunities is that is in the second point that you talked about, Claudia. I think that part of these communities, and this is an inclusion matter, to understand that this is not for hers. Part of it because all the process, the challenges they are faced in a policy coordination that we have in our country, in our region. I think that is a little bit of to try to show that this is possible and not to exclude that this is not something for you, but this is a question, this can prejudice you, then help you. I think that I'm showing something that from my personal experience, but I think that we can show that we can be part of this world we can appropriate of it and make this to be used in our favor. I also believe that Campina Grande has this capacity and have this capacity in the meeting if we believe if you try to have it to achieve it. I think we have this challenge to bring technology to see the diversity of the world. It makes part of the development of technology, so we can have inputs, different inputs, so we can understand the applications in the different contexts. So that's why the discussion of artificial technology, artificial intelligence is not only stay only in the model, but also when you're building, when you're trying to find a solution, to understand what you need to do to mitigate and the discrimination, and to understand what is the target public, how it's going to be used, and so on. It's really a cycle that we have to think in a whole. And this is always a challenge. That's why we have to think in opportunities. And to think opportunity doesn't mean that we don't have to look to the challenge, but in the contrary. But this whole vision, it's when we have more chances to enjoy it. But also to see the technology as a chance to inclusion, not only opportunities, but the technology can support of inclusion. For example, Microsoft supported a developing in India. India that has a big part of the population that doesn't know how to read. And if we think about it, the access of different public services thinking in the Latin America, we know that we have the most difficult to access, whether physical or digital. The solution was thought to use the generative AI and this light language mode. That means that you can have an interface with natural language. People could sense audio messages and having the answer happening and related to a determined public service. This is something very interesting for us to think. Of course, the challenges are more complex than this point, but again, we need to think in the whole, related what we can do to help and try bring everyone for this world. Thank you, Elias. The reflections are very interesting. Briefly in this point, if I could have a direction, to give you two examples very clear. I was in this hackathon that was done for this younger called Danielle, sponsored by UQK Council and some other agents, nationals, internationals, one. Bringing youngers from more than 60 communities in Recife, and they present solutions talking about IoT, how to put devices into the communities. So how youngers these days are thinking in technological solutions to make things happen with the protagonist younger that give voice to all this process. There is another young girl that was trying to have energy in her city. And the mayor said, if you bring the energy, I will build a school here. And they go for these resources that support youngers and youngers from the whole world. And with a partnership with an energy observatory that costed $10,000. So there is all this work and they installed and it went wrong. The first one didn't work very well, but the second one, it worked. So the internet came, the energy came, then the internet, and in 2 months the school will be done. So a younger that with her voice gave protagonism and mobilized it so the things could work. So if we are able to give voices to these people, they can assume this world. When we talk about energy, we are talking about energy security. And how we can talk about this aspect when everyone has energy, there's no one that doesn't suffer with this problem. But we have to dialogue with everyone. I think these are excellent questions, so everyone wants to talk a little bit. My experience was not so positive. My team, someone of my team went to the interior of São Paulo. So we talked with some cooperative leaders that represent some traditionals. And what they related was that the energy providers go to them, but it's energy that doesn't make sense. No one stopped to discuss how is the production. So it's something that needs to change. The energy providers need to stop and to talk with people so we can have diversity. It's not something that will happen naturally. We have to have this effort with another ecosystem and entities. And something that my team said when they visit the products in São Paulo, there was some place where the energy was adopted and some data of the production were spread without the consent of the community. So it generates untrustful. How can we share the data? So I like it, this term, technical pessimist. How to treat risks and innovate it. Actually, we want access to technology and we need to help trust. So we have to do all of this. So there is a work that we have to do. I will commit myself to leave your question personal because the transport came here. And we are going now to the forró. Elias, you have to be here. So I wanted to thank you, Luis, Elias, Clara. The day was really productive. We have a lot of good discussions. I wanted to say sorry, Fernanda. I committed a mistake. I say sorry, but I want to finish with saying about this technical pessimist. I came like a technical solutionist. I had a lot of energy. I entered in the law faculty. I think that was only to digitalize life and the problems would be solved. But with 2 years in the law, going to the clinics, seeing the real dramas of the population, I became a technical pessimist that I think the technology doesn't help. 2 years later, today I'm on for the master of that exposition that we saw in the Museum Ariana Suassuna. Maybe it's this person that understand a little bit more and understand that make everything technical is not a solution, but they can see that there is a light in this tunnel of digital revolution that we brought. And these revolutions will happen if we see that this is the way that we can walk together. So again, I want to say thank you for your attention during the day. Thank you, Luis, Clara. Thank you, Elias. And the vehicles is already that we can see, that we can meet in the Forró. Thank you very much.